Well, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you tonight my boss. I know he doesn't think that, but and I say that in jest, really. We have a terrific leadership team in the State House of Representatives right now. Tom Leonard heads that team. And so a little over a year ago, we started putting a plan together to put together a leadership team that would put forward the values that we strongly felt that were needed to keep our state moving in the right direction. But also, in introducing Tom tonight, I want to let you all in on what might be a secret, what may not be a secret, because just yesterday morning, Speaker Leonard announced his candidacy for Attorney General of the state of Michigan. And that's great news, but the really great news is you will never find a more honest man than Tom Leonard. And if Tom Leonard disagrees with you, he'll let you know. He won't beat around the bush, but he will never be disagreeable about that. And that's what I love about Tom. And I've had a lot of people come through my office. They come to my office and they say, okay, how do I handle this Leonard guy, and stuff like that. And I just say, Tom will always be straight with you. If he agrees with you, he'll tell you he agrees with you. If he doesn't, he'll let you know. But he will never let that come between treating you as another, respectable human being. So it's my great pleasure and great honor to introduce my Speaker of the House, Tom Leonard.
Well, good evening, and thank you all so very much for having us here tonight. I will start out the same way I do every time I speak to a group, and it doesn't matter if there's 170 or 180 folks in the room like there are tonight, if there's 400 or 500, or if it's just simply having coffee with 4 or 5 people. I'll tell you this, I cannot tell you what an honor and blessing it is to serve as Speaker of the House of this Representatives. And it's something I truly thank the Lord for every single day. Now, why is that? Because of many of the big issues that we get to tackle, and I'm going to get into some of those in just a moment. But most importantly, because of the great people that I get to work with and serve with on a daily basis. And I'm looking here at a Terrace Todd, who is one of the hardest working people that I've seen, is doing phenomenal things for our party. I look at the individuals that I get to serve with in the House. Dan Lowers, where's Pam Hornberger at? Pam Hornberger, Shane Hernandez. I mean, just incredible representation here. One of my dearest friends, who used to be one of the representatives here, who unfortunately had to term out, but Andrea LaFontaine, who became one of my best friends in the legislature and was my seatmate. Just incredible people. You guys have one of the most phenomenal, and I'm not just saying this, one of the most phenomenal congressmen in the country. How great is it to actually see a politician or an elected official that will actually campaign on a platform, and when they get elected will actually do exactly what they say they were going to, or said they were going to do. That's Paul Mitchell for you. I look at a Stan Grote in the back, our 10th congressional chair. Nobody works harder to get Republicans elected every year than Stan Grote does. Jerry Hildenbrand, who also works for the state party. Again, the list goes on, and I don't want to forget anybody here tonight, but I get to work with some incredible people every single day. Now, before I get into some of the issues that I wanted to talk about tonight, I want to tell you just a quick short story. Being Speaker of the House can be very humbling at times, okay? Now, when I first got elected, it was about 4 or 5 days after it was pretty much solidified I was going to be Speaker. I took my good friend Tom Barrett out to lunch. Now, has anybody heard that name, Tom Barrett? Tom Barrett is one of our rising stars in the party. He's actually somebody I recruited to run for the House a few years ago. And it was one of those seats that we had to pick up. It was held by a Democrat, and I knew Tom would be a great candidate. Well, he represents Eaton County, and I represent Clinton County. The two counties are right next to each other. The difference between the two counties is this. I'm in one of those safe Republican seats, so once I win the primary, it is done. It's over. I don't have to do anything for the general except for go out and work for other candidates and help them hit doors. Whereas Tom is in one of those 50-50 seats, and every single cycle, The Republicans are going to spend $500,000 to $1 million telling everybody how great he is, and the Democrats are going to spend $500,000 to $1 million telling everybody how evil he is. The problem is that Tom's district is actually in my media market. So when they're running those ads, all of my constituents see them run every 2 years, nonstop. So Tom and I are having lunch because I just got an elected speaker, and Tom's one of my best friends there. We were in each other's weddings, and I wanted to make certain Tom was going to be taken care of. So we're sitting there and we're talking, and this lady walks in, and she looks right across the restaurant, and she's pointing right at Tom Barrett, not me. Tom, you are amazing. You are awesome. You are the man. I am so proud of you. We were rooting for you. She said, we couldn't vote for you, but we were rooting for you. We are so glad you pulled it off. And the restaurant owner walks up, and we're in my district, mind you, about 5 blocks from where we live. He walks up, puts his arm around the lady, says, well, ma'am, he says, that other Tom right there, he just got elected. He said, he is your representative, and he just got elected Speaker of the House. She looks and she goes, I have no idea who the heck that guy is. And that was my introduction to becoming Speaker of the House. But all that to say, as Dan said, I have made myself a candidate for Attorney General. Just a bit about my background. Worked as a prosecutor for 3 years in the city of Flint in Genesee County, handling anything from a traffic ticket to a homicide. And my last 18 months that I was there was actually assigned to our undercover drug division. Myself and one other prosecutor, we prosecuted all the major drug dealers in the city of Flint. So if I wasn't on the streets with the officers, or excuse me, if I wasn't in the courtroom, I actually got to go out on the streets with the officers and help them do their thing. Left there, spent 2 years working for the Attorney General's office, and here I am. Now, why do I want to do this? Because there is nothing in the world that I love doing more than fighting for the people of this state. I did it as a prosecutor when I was in Genesee County, did it as an assistant attorney general, and it has not stopped since my time in the legislature. And the one example I will give you, and there's several, but the one example I will give you, and thankfully all the representatives in this room tonight, they were with me when we pursued this. But who remembers when Jennifer Granholm in the legislature, probably 15 years ago, had to wipe out a $1.5 billion budget deficit, and instead of making the tough decision, decided to raise your income taxes? And you were all promised that within 5 years, that increase was going to go back down to where it was. Well, here we are 15 years later, and you're still paying the same rate, and your income tax has not gone back down to 3.9. Now, when I first became Speaker, I wanted to do something that I thought our entire caucus could get behind and would be proud that was part of our party platform. Many have asked me what has been the most surprising thing about being Speaker of the House. The most surprising thing that I have seen over the last year is how difficult it is to get some Republicans to actually want to reduce taxes. So we introduced a bill that was actually going to roll back the income tax and restore that promise. Thought this thing was going to sail through. And unfortunately, we found out after about 10 or 12 hours, spending all day on the floor, and it got close to midnight, that we were going to be a couple votes short. And no speaker and no leadership team, unfortunately Dan was with me every step of the way, had actually put up a failed vote since 2001. I didn't know that until I had my staff look into it. And it's typically because a leadership team doesn't want to look weak in the event that the vote goes up and it fails. So I went back with my staff and my leadership team that night, and I said, guys, most everybody in this caucus has actually ran on a platform of reducing taxes. Here we are, and now they're not going to do it. I said, I feel like we need to put this thing up and we need to hold everybody accountable tonight. What do you think? And I'll never forget my press secretary looking at me, and I said to him, I said, Gideon, I want you to paint the Armageddon scenario. What happens if we put this thing up tonight and it fails? He said, well, the folks in Lansing are going to think you guys are absolutely crazy. I said, okay. He said, the media is going to beat you up for about a week. I said, okay. And he said, the Detroit Free Press is going to write a very nasty editorial about you. I said, okay. And he said, but I will tell you this. The folks that fought for you to get here, that made those phone calls, hit the doors, licked the envelopes, the ones that are actually responsible, your grassroots activists and volunteers, the ones that are responsible for you having a 63-seat majority right now, they're actually going to be proud and happy that there is finally a caucus in this town that is willing to stand up and fight for them. And I said, that's a no-brainer. Let's get up and roll. And that's what we did that night. And as I said, every single one of these representatives that are here tonight, they were with us every step of the way when we pursued that. Now, that's behind us. What do we need to do to be successful in 2018? Well, I believe we need to continue to tackle big issues. I tell my caucus all the time that I believe the best politics is good, sound public policy. And sometimes that means tackling very tough issues. And I want to talk about two real briefly tonight that we are in the process of working on right now and that you're going to see happen this fall, just to kind of give you a quick update. Who here thinks they are paying, who here thinks their auto insurance bill is too low? Who here thinks their auto insurance bill is too high? All right, I like to see that. We are tackling insurance reform right now, and you've probably read this in the media, and quite frankly, many of you have probably received a mailer with my head on it talking about how evil I am, because the hospitals have already ponied up millions of dollars on this issue because they don't want to lose the billions of dollars that they are making every year. Why are your auto insurance rates so high? Because we have the Obamacare of auto insurance in this country. We are the only state in the nation that mandates every single person that wants to drive has to purchase an unlimited lifetime liability with zero cost control in the system. When you were injured in an auto accident, has everybody noticed that when you go to the hospital or a doctor, the first question they ask is, were you injured in an auto accident? The reason being is when you're injured in an auto accident, a hospital can charge 4, 5, 6, 7 times more than what they can charge a commercial health insurance company. We've seen scenarios where they will literally open up a bottle of Neosporin to fix a cut from somebody that's injured in an auto accident, and they send a $120 bill in the mail to your auto insurance company. There's absolutely no cost control in the system. So we are working on a plan right now, and what does this plan do? First and foremost, it would give everybody in this room an option. When you go to purchase your auto insurance, you could purchase a $250,000 limit, a $500,000 limit, or you could keep what you have right now, and that's your unlimited lifetime liability. Again, doing away with this Obamacare of auto insurance. Secondly, it would actually bring cost control in the system so that hospitals would quit gouging insurance companies, but most importantly, us, when we are injured in auto accidents. Third, and I think the most compelling reason to pass this are senior citizens. We are the only state in the nation whose senior citizens qualify for Medicare, and we still force them to purchase an unlimited lifetime medical liability on their auto insurance premium. Guys, that is wrong. We are double burdening them, we are double taxing them, whatever you want to call it. So there's also a provision in this bill that would essentially say if you've got retiree health care or you're on Medicare, you don't have to purchase an unlimited lifetime benefit. You're going to be covered. And guess what? Every senior in this room would save anywhere between $800 and $1,100 every single year off of their insurance premium if this were to pass. Every other person would see anywhere from a 20 to 40% rate reduction on their insurance premiums. Now, I wish I could tell you to pick up the phone right now and call your representatives and tell them to support this. But fortunately, every representative in this room right now, they're fully behind me with this, or on this. But continue to hound folks, continue to make those calls around the state or whatever you got to do, because this is a sound plan, and it will reduce everybody's auto insurance rates here in this state, or in this room. Secondly, another big issue that we are tackling is addressing our broken mental health system. Now, this is an issue that when I first got elected Speaker of the House, the media asked me what were the top 3 issues that I wanted to address, and this was one of them. And honestly, folks, I had no idea how many people this broken system actually affects, and how many people have somebody close to them that is actually suffering from some type of mental illness. Back in 2007, I had the opportunity to clerk for the probate judge in Genesee County. She started the pilot program for mental health courts here in the state. And I'll be the first to tell you I was probably her biggest naysayer. I didn't think it'd work. And within a couple weeks, I realized I was wrong. Within a year, she had over 90 people in her mental health court with over a 90% success rate. People that are now looking for jobs, people that are now finishing their degrees, finishing their diplomas, but most importantly, they are on their medication, and they're actually getting the services and the help that they need. Now, one quick issue on this, I was asked, and I think we need to address this as Republicans. I was asked in my press scrum, I do one every Thursday. The media asked me if, because of what I saw on Sunday night, or what I heard about on Sunday night regarding what happened in Nevada, the tragic incident, if I was one that was finally willing to come to the table and support more gun laws. And I think they wanted me to back down, and I was very clear and very blunt with them. I said, as a prosecutor, or as a former prosecutor, I'm going to tell you this. I don't care how many laws you put in place, bad people will not obey laws. It's simply not going to happen. If we are going to get serious about addressing some of these tragedies, what we need to do is get to the root of the problem. And I don't know what the mental state was of this monster that committed this crime on Sunday night, but what I do know is this: if you look back at the history of these mass shootings, a vast majority of these individuals suffered from some type of mental illness. Why is it that we have to wait for somebody to hurt themselves or hurt somebody else before we can create an environment whereby we can get them the help they need? So this is something that I'm hitting head on. We are going to do everything we can to revamp our mental health system. You will probably see some legislation coming in the next few weeks or maybe early in the winter. We want to make certain we get it right. But this is something that we are going to tackle. Last, and I'll close with this, if we are going to be successful in 2018, as Tara said, we've got to be the party that is going to stick with our platform. We've got to be the party that is going to stick with the values that got us here. We've got to continue to do everything we can to protect our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. We've got to do everything we can to fight the federal government if they are going to encroach on our states' rights and try to give us things like Common Core. And most importantly, we have got to be the party that is going to stand for life from the moment of conception to natural death. That is how we are going to be successful in 2018. Thank you all very much for having me.